Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Your friend Dean Kulawiri here. Every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. I'm right here to help you folks out with job search tips, advice, strategies. So make sure you mark your calendars every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. Feel free to say hello in the comments and feel free to start dropping your job search related questions, concerns. I want to know what you folks are experiencing out there right now as job seekers, as most of you tuning in are most probably job seekers. So feel free to start putting in your questions in the comments. And what I'm going to do is after I finish presenting on today's topic, which is how to handle disappointment in your job search. That's what I'm going to be speaking about right now. I'm going to get into that shortly. So feel free to share, what disappointments you might be facing in your job search. I'm happy to share some of my thoughts regarding what you folks are experiencing when I get to the Q&A portion of the live stream. All right. So with that being said, let me get right into it. Again, disappointment, folks. Look, it's going to be happening in your job search where you're faced with all sorts of and all kinds of disappointments, right? Rejections, that's the most obvious one. You apply for a job, you're excited about it, you get rejected. Getting ghosted. Everything seems to be going well. Maybe you're at the early stage, you had the pre-screening with the recruiter. Maybe it's later on, you interview with the company, and they ghost you, right? The recruiter ghosts you, the hiring team ghosts you, like whatever the case is. Never a good thing, right? Never feels good. And that contributes to that feeling of disappointment, right? Because you put so much time and effort into preparing for the conversation, researching the company, making sure your resume is spick and span and it looks good and it looks great. Practicing maybe your interviewing skills with colleagues or friends or whoever it is. All that effort and you're faced with these kind of disappointments. What else? Maybe you go through the interview with a company, they like you, you're one of the top candidates, and they decide to go with another candidate, right? I mean, look, folks, these are just a few examples here, but disappointment is a part of the job search. So how do you handle it? How do you deal with it? I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips here to help you get back on track, right? There's a lot of great information out there about how to stay motivated and all that stuff. So I'm not going to really get into that kind of stuff. But what I'm going to speak about today is how you can get yourself back on track. Because look, you gotta get yourself to a point where you're actually able to get the job that you want, right? And that's what I wanted to share today is a few tips to help you do that. So look, the first tip that I wanted to share, and probably the most important tip, and it's no coincidence that I made this first tip, is look, you gotta simply accept the fact that rejections, disappointments, all this stuff, it will happen in your job search. So step number one is accept that it will happen, folks. And the other thing, as kind of a in addition to that, I wanted to say in regards to that is it's okay to feel disappointed. It is completely fine. It's okay. Whatever you're feeling down, you're feeling sad, you're feeling, a little, whatever. Like these are normal human reactions when we're faced with a situation where we're not getting what we want, right? And it's not just job searching. I mean, think about so many other things in life, right? Maybe it's some friendship, right? Your friend disappointed you, you disappointed your friend. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe it's you planned a trip, then suddenly something happened and you weren't able to go on that trip, that vacation you were really looking forward to. I mean, these feelings of disappointment, they're completely normal reactions, right? So don't be so hard on yourself when you feel disappointed, because it's completely normal. All of us face disappointment, folks, right? Even I don't care if you're like the top 10% of your industry. Forget the top 10%. Maybe you're the top 0.001% of the top 10% of your industry, right? You're like at the elite level in your industry or your profession, whatever it is. You will be faced with disappointment. It will happen. It happens to all of us. And the first thing is, like I mentioned, we have to accept that we will be faced with disappointment over the course of our job search. We need to set these realistic expectations for ourselves. Not everything is going to be like perfect, folks. Like, it's not going to be perfect. Nothing's going to go exactly the way you planned. You definitely want to still be planning out your job search, what you're going to be doing, practicing, rehearsing, improving your communication skills, your interviewing skills. Yes, we can do all of that, and we still will be faced with disappointment. That is the reality, and we have to accept that, right? And the next thing we got to do is we got to understand that it's okay to feel disappointment, right? So many of you, and job seekers, they reach out to me, and I have these conversations with job seekers as well. And what I find is a lot of people, they're simply uh, you know, I think that the biggest discomfort for most people is simply the emotion that they're feeling. Like, the situation itself is not as bad as I think a lot of us make it out to be, right? I think what makes things worse is simply the way that we feel about what we're experiencing. Again, whether it's in regards to disappointment or any human emotion for that matter, right? So it's okay to feel that way, folks. It's okay to feel disappointed. I feel disappointed when things don't go my way. I'm sure you probably are gonna feel it over the course of your job search as well. It's a part of being human. All right, let's just accept it, and let's be okay with what we're feeling. It's completely fine. Nothing's wrong with you, and it certainly does not mean that you suck, or you're not good. You're not worthy of having a good job. You're not worthy of go joining the company of your dreams, or whatever the case is. It doesn't mean none of that. It's simply an emotional reaction. That's it. Don't make more of it than what it is. It's simply us reacting to something emotionally. It's what we do. It's what we've been programmed to do, probably from since we were little babies and kids, right? We will feel that discomfort when things don't go the way that we want them to go. But that does not mean give up. That does not mean give up, right? It just means that right now, the situation cannot be the way that you want it to be, but it does not mean give up, right? So that is tip number one. Let's accept that it will happen. Disappointments will happen, and it's completely fine for you to feel whatever emotional reaction you're feeling, right? Sadness, anger, maybe rage, disappointment, obviously, right? These are perfectly normal human reactions, right? So that's tip number one. Now, tip number two is, I now want you to get excited about another opportunity. All right. So whatever the situation is, you faced with the disappointment, they rejected you, they passed you on for another candidate. Things suddenly came to a halt. I don't care what it is. The next thing I want you to do is, I need you to get excited about another opportunity. Right now, this is something I personally do when I'm faced with some kind of when I'm thinking back to when I'm a job seeker, when I've been actively job seeking on the market, and I've been faced with some kind of disappointment after going for an interview or speaking with a recruiter or whatever the case is. The first thing I like to do after that is I like to get excited about something else. Okay, sitting at home basking in my misery watching Netflix, it's not going to help me, folks. It's not going to help me, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to help you as well, right? Especially if you start watching one of those depressing shows on Netflix. Who knows what's popular these days? I don't know. I avoid that stuff, folks. All right. What I want to do is I want to get excited about something else, right? That's what's gonna help me feel a little bit more better, right? Fine, this organization, they didn't see me as a fit. They're not excited about me, even though I was excited about them. Fine. I mean, what am I gonna do about that, right? Why worry about those things beyond my control? Remember, that's what I talked about on last week's live stream. Feel free to check it out, by the way. If you haven't already, just go to my YouTube channel. You can check out last week's live stream, which was how to handle things beyond your control, right? Now, going back to today's one is, why am I gonna worry about this company that rejected me and all that stuff? Let me get excited about something else. Let me get excited about the next organization. Let me go online. Let me research some other organization. Let me research some more available opportunities. And guess what? I'm gonna start feeling excited because it's gonna let me see. Okay, fine. I got rejected for this, or I got this disappointment in regards to this opportunity. But the more I go on the job boards, the job postings, the more I go on LinkedIn, I see people posting about other opportunities. The more I'm starting to see that there's an abundance of opportunities out there. And yes, even at the onset of a recession, a potential recession, which is what all of us are seeing out there on social media and on the news. Despite that, there are still opportunities out there, folks. And that's what you need to start thinking about, right? So get excited about other opportunities, new opportunities. Maybe it's another company, maybe it's another organization. Maybe you hear about something going on in your industry and you're like, man, if that's happening, that's going to create like huge opportunities for me in in my industry, right? Whatever it is, folks, you got to get excited about the next opportunity, right? Look, don't just go home and sit around and be in this like terrible state and then remain in that state. Motivation requires some form of effort on our parts, right? Sometimes it's not going to just come to us. We had to make it happen, and one of those ways is get excited about another opportunity. Don't give yourself time to just sink into that disappointment, sink into this depression, sink into this sadness, and whatever it is you're feeling. I suggest let's take a more proactive role in seeing if we can get excited about something else. And that's something that's always worked for me is when I'm disappointed about some opportunity that didn't work out, that didn't pan out for me, I want to get excited about something else. Let me get excited about something else, right? And this is something I'm sure all of you can relate to in other areas of your life as well, right? Like you face a disappointment with a friend, a family member, or maybe in a relationship, right? Maybe you're going through a breakup. Maybe your relationship didn't work out. What's the worst thing you can do? What's the worst thing you can do, folks? The worst thing you can do is sit around at home, thinking about how the relationship didn't work out. You start watching again Netflix movies, eating ice cream, and you're not in a better state at all. It doesn't help. Like I don't know anyone that's ever done that and it's made them feel any better. It doesn't. What will make you feel better is getting excited about something else. Hey, okay, fine, that relationship didn't work out. Maybe you got to go, go for a walk, do what you got to do to recharge yourself. But what you got to do next is you got to get excited about the future, some other opportunity, a new friendship, a new relationship, a new potential love interest. I don't know what it is. I guarantee it's gonna be better for you if you dress up, freshen up, call up your friends, be like, hey, look, let's go out tonight. Or, let's go hang out. Let's go watch a movie. Something. Be around people. Go meet other people. Right. I mean, that's gonna be much more beneficial for you than again basking in your misery. It's not gonna help. Right. So get excited. It's the same thing in your job search. Get excited about another opportunity. Get excited about the next thing, folks. That's gonna better help you get over this disappointment you faced after this company that rejected you or didn't want to consider you for the role. Right. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3. Okay. Now this one definitely easier said than done, but you got to keep a consistent pipeline of my suggestion, between 3 to 4 other interviews constantly on the go. Now, let me elaborate what I mean by this. What I mean is for every interview you have, you should have other, maybe, 3 or 4 other interviews going on at the same time. So basically what I'm saying is always have multiple interviews that you're interviewing for at the same time. This will help you because even if one interview, it doesn't work out, you get disappointed and stuff like that, it's not going to affect you as much when you have, three other companies that you got interviews lined up with. Right? I mean, think about it, right? If you got, let's say you got 5 interviews on the go right now. Okay, you go for an interview. It's with your top favorite, your top pick. You love this company, you love the organization, love the hiring team, great report, ideal career opportunity. Okay, all of that is great, but then you get the bad news. Hey, we're not selecting you. We decided to go with another candidate. Or maybe worst case, terrible case is they just simply ghost you. They ignore you. They're not in touch with you, right? Let's say even that happens, folks. All right. So what? You got like 4 other interviews lined up. I guarantee you, folks, you're not gonna care as much. You're not gonna feel as disappointed and down and out because you got a whole bunch. You got a couple of other opportunities on the go. Right now, with that being said, I did want to emphasize, yes, I completely understand, folks. This is easier said than done. Okay, I know it's easy for me to give this advice, but I'm saying that this is something you need to aim for. Constantly, consistently, folks, have a pipeline of 3, 4 multiple interviews with multiple organizations going on at the same time. It's gonna give you. You're gonna be in a completely different state of mind. You're gonna be like in the twilight zone, and I mean that in a good way. You're gonna be on another level. You're gonna be more confident. You're going to be less outcome focused because again, you got 4 or 5 other interviews lined up, right? You're already going in with the attitude like, okay, I mean, if this works out, great. If it doesn't work out, I got 3, 4 other interviews lined up, right? What's the big deal here, right? Like you're going to have this attitude of abundance. So this is something extremely important. Now, another thing I wanted to advise you folks on. Now, not everyone out there will agree with this piece of advice, and I do understand why some people would disagree with this advice. But this is something I discovered myself because if you rewind many years ago, I was not very good at interviews. I was terrible in interviews. I was in fact a completely different personality than I am today, right? I go in for interviews, I'd be so nervous. I mean, look, I could barely make eye contact with the interviewer folks, right? That's the way that I was. I could barely make eye contact. I was extremely nervous, extremely anxious. My social skills were not what they are today, right? I was a much different person. And in some interviews, like my literally, I would get so nervous and anxious at the interview that my throat muscles would tighten up. So you can imagine, like I'd mostly get these interviews, and I would completely flunk the interviews. I would not do well. I'd face rejection after rejection after rejection, and I'm not exaggerating here, folks. So what started happening then is I just started getting so angry and upset, and just so angry because I knew my potential. I knew I had the ability to do great things at these companies that I was interviewing for, but it's just that my interviewing skills were not good. So I got so pissed off and so angry. What I started doing is I just started interviewing at companies I had zero interest in. I had zero interest in these companies, didn't care much for whether I got the job or not, but I still scheduled these interviews. And the reason why I started doing this is I was like, okay, look, you got to get good at these at interviewing, right? And I figured if I could get interviews at companies I had zero interest in, at least it's an opportunity for me to practice my interview skills, get better at it, practice, and give me that. And then what started happening is, and I came across this by mistake, is I started developing this abundance mentality, right? What I spoke about just now. I started developing this abundance mentality because there'd be like one company like that I was really serious about. I was like, man, I really want to do well at this interview. But then I'd surrounded with, like, three, four interviews with other companies that I had zero interest in. Like, I didn't care. Like, these were basically interviews where I was like, I'm just gonna use these interviews so I can practice my interviewing skills. I didn't care about the outcome, so my attitude, my confidence was kind of, much better at these interviews, and that helped me better manage the interview for the company I really did and generally was interested in doing well at, right? And what this allowed me to do is, again, it allowed me opportunities to really do well at the better my interviewing skills, whole improve my communication skills and all that stuff, so that when it came time for the interview I really wanted to do well at, I was much better. I'm not saying I improved overnight, but I was much better. So let's say the company I really wanted to work for, they're like, okay, D, we got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like which day do you want to interview? So I'd schedule the interview for like Thursday, Friday, right? And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I do my best to get interviews at companies I had zero interest in wanting to interview with. And what I do is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I just use that as opportunities for me to practice my interviewing skills. By the time Thursday comes around, I'm in a different state. I'm confident. I have this abundance mentality that I can now kind of imitate for this interview I really want to go for. But what I really discovered is when you have a pipeline of multiple interviews on the go, you just feel much more confident, and you're less disappointed when that interview does not come out favorably for the company that you really want to interview for, right? So again, I know some people out there might not agree with this advice, because they're like, hey, look, why would you interview with a company you have zero interest in? Well, look, the fact is, folks, not all of us have phenomenal interviewing skills, right? And that was the case with me many years ago. I was not good at interviewing. I was not good at interviewing, but this is a way that I did to improve my confidence, further hone in on my and sharpen my interview skills, and just do better at interviews, right? That's just something I came up with. So that's my advice for you folks is, look, if you're only going for one interview, two interviews, and that interview ends up in you getting rejected or something, it's going to affect you much more. So as much as possible, get multiple interviews on the go, right? Now, if you're not able to get multiple interviews with companies you're genuinely interested in, my advice, hey, just get interviews with companies maybe you don't have as much interest with, because that's still going to help you with that abundance mentality. So even if that one company you're really interested in about, it doesn't work out, they reject you, or things don't work out, whatever it is, you still have that attitude of abundance. You still have that abundance mentality. You still know, hey, maybe this company didn't see value in me, but look, I got 3, 4 other interviews with other companies lined up, right? Your mentality, it's just your mindset's going to be totally different, folks, right? That's what I'm trying to explain here. So that is tip number 4. Sorry, tip number 3. Now, tip number 4 is You got to schedule your job search daily battle plan, right? You got to have a daily battle plan for your job search, and you got to stick to it throughout your day. Now, this is advice that if you've been following me for a while, you've heard me speak about this multiple times probably. But you gotta map out your calendar every day, folks, like it is a job. Your job search is a job. In fact, it is a job because you need to be mapping out your day hour by hour. What are you going to be doing? That's going to be contributing to your job search, right? Now, for those of you currently employed and job searching, obviously, maybe you can't job search throughout the day, but maybe it's after hours. Maybe it's after 4 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever it is. Fine. Then 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., whatever your schedule looks like, map out what you're going to be doing hour by hour. Now, for those of you currently unemployed, you don't have a job, you have more time on your hands, right? So that means I want you treating your job search like it is a job, right? So treat it like a job. Set your alarm in the morning. Wake up just like it's a job, right? Wake up on time. Wake up nice and early. Eat your breakfast. Do your workout, whatever it is, right? Freshen up, all that stuff. And then 9 a.m., time to start the job search, folks. That is your job now, okay? So what are you going to be doing at 9 a.m., folks? What are you going to be doing from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., 12 p.m. you got your lunch break. Then 1 o'clock you're back to work, right? 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. You gotta add in. You gotta have a full calendar where you're doing job search related activities hour by hour, right? This will help you stay on task. It's gonna keep you focused, and despite any disappointments you might be facing, you're still doing things that contribute to your job search, right? So maybe 9 o'clock you're just browsing the job boards. Okay, 9 o'clock you're browsing the job boards. You're browsing Monster, Indeed, LinkedIn. Maybe some other industry-specific job boards, right? You're scouring, you're looking for potential opportunities that you can apply for. You're doing that from 9 to 10. You're submitting your resume, application, blah blah blah, whatever. Okay, 10 o'clock. What are you going to do at 10 o'clock? Okay, 10 o'clock. Let's network with some recruiters, right? Let me network with recruiters. Let's go on LinkedIn. Who are the recruiters I'm connected to? Let's send out some messages introducing myself to recruiters. Oh, there's some recruiters posting jobs specific to to the positions that you'd be eligible for. Great, even better. Now you got to attach your resume to those messages as well, right? So 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you do that. 11 o'clock, oh, it's Wednesday, 11 o'clock. Well, I know Dean does his weekly live stream on Wednesdays, 11 o'clock. So I'm gonna tune into that. I'm gonna watch that at 11 o'clock. 12 o'clock is your lunch break. All right, let's get some lunch. Let's fuel yourself with some food and energy, right? But don't overdo it. I don't want you getting sleepy and taking a nap after your lunch break. All right. So eat, re-energize, all that stuff. Go for a walk, right? Maybe go for a, I don't know, 10, 15, 20-minute walk or so, or whatever you got to do. Get some fresh air. 1 o'clock, we're back at it, right? So this is going to help you stay motivated, folks. Instead of see how this is much better than just sitting moping around thinking about those disappointments. It's not going to help, folks, right? Just keep the momentum going. Keep the momentum going, right? Despite the disappointments. And when you have a mapped out calendar every day, okay, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I'm doing this. 10 to 11, I'm doing this. 12 to 1, I got my lunch break. 1 to 2, I'm doing this. 2 to 3, I'm doing this. It's gonna help you stay on focus, stay focused, stay on task, and it's gonna help you keep that momentum going through, right? So you gotta make sure you keep a calendar and you're mapping out what you're gonna be doing hour by hour. In fact, for those of you who are, you're currently unemployed, you're looking for work, you have the entire day to do this. So there's no excuses. So after today's live stream, I want you to go in your calendar. And I want you to put in hour by hour what you're going to be doing hour by hour. That's going to contribute to your job search. That's gonna do you much better, folks, than just sitting around thinking about the disappointments, right? Keep the momentum going. Keep the momentum going, right? So that was tip number 4. Now tip number 5 is right now. I've been talking about things you got to do to keep the momentum going and stuff. But tip number 5 is look, do what you got to do to rehabilitate your motivation. All right. I'm definitely not saying, some of you might need, maybe some time to take a step back. I mean, look, all of us are different, right? Some of you might want to take a brief break from your job search. Some of you might feel like, okay, let me just take a pause from my job search. Let me take a step back. Do what you got to do, folks. Do what you got to do to rehabilitate your motivation. And again, all of us have different ways of doing that. Me personally, if I take too much time off and, if I put a pause, like I have a very active mind, so I start thinking negative, right? So for me, that's not a good idea. For me to take a pause, relax and stuff like that, it's not good for me because I know the way my mind works, right? I have a very active mind and I start thinking negative scenarios, negative situations. Suddenly, next thing you know, I'm thinking about things that happened to me in my childhood from when I was like 5 years old. And it's just a slippery slope for me personally. For me, how I overcome it is, I do things which require me to take action, right? That's what works for me. And maybe that's what works for some of you out there as well, right? Maybe you deal with disappointment through workouts, right? Maybe you gotta hit the gym. You're doing your workout. Maybe some of you it's taking a brief vacation, right? You want to take a week off, take a vacation, go out to Florida or go I don't know, go visit some other place in the world, or maybe go on a road trip. Call up your friends, call up your family, call up your bestie, whatever it is. Maybe some of you it's calling them up and just having a conversation on the phone, right? I don't know, folks, right? All of us are different, right? So you got to figure out and you got to figure out and see what am I going to do that's going to help me rehabilitate my motivation so I can get back right into it. Right. So do what you got to do, but here's the other thing. Don't stay in that state where you're continuously avoiding your job search. Do what you got to do to get back in the game and then get back in the game. That's what I'm trying to say here, folks, right? And again, depends on you, go for a walk, maybe listen to music, uplifting music, watch an inspirational movie. There's so much things we can do to kickstart ourselves again, right? Just make sure it's positive. If you're into music and movies and that kind of stuff, or even talking to people, make sure it's positive people, make sure it's positive music, make sure it's uplifting music. Okay, none of that depressing, sad, blues and stuff like that. No. Okay, none of that stuff. If you're watching those kind of shows and movies and music and depressing stuff, no, remember, remind yourself, no, Dean said no depressing stuff. It's got to be uplifting stuff that's going to help you lift yourself up, feel a little bit more enthusiastic, feel a little bit more motivated, right? So that you're ready to start putting yourself back in the game, back into the job search, right? So that is tip number 5. Do what you got to do to rehabilitate your motivation, right? Might be different for you, might be different for me, but do what you got to do, folks. But then after you do what you got to do, don't stay there. Get back in the game. Get yourself back in the game so you can get back in the job search. Now, tip number 6, final tip, and I'm going to get into the questions in the comments shortly. So feel free to start putting your questions into the comments shortly, folks. But tip number 6 is, okay, I'll get that later. So tip number 6 is, and this is something we all have to remember in regards to rejections, disappointments, not in relation to the job search, folks, but I would say any area of our lives. Every barrier, folks, every barrier gets you closer to open doors. Okay, if you're taking notes, you want to write that down. Write it down on a sticky note, hang it up on your wall so you remember this. Every barrier, every rejection, every disappointment, every person ghosting me gets me closer to that open door. The open door to companies that are just waiting. There's a company right now, and I'm not just saying this to just motivate you guys or make you feel good. But look, there right now, as we're speaking right now, you might not be, this might be very hard for a lot of you folks to believe, but right now, as I'm speaking right now, there's a company out there just waiting to meet someone like you. They've had so many interviews, they've interviewed so many people, they've put out so many job boards, they've gone through so many applications, and they have not met you yet. And they're just waiting to meet you, folks, which in itself is a reason why you need to keep going, because out there's an organization right now with a set of problems, with a great career opportunity for you that's just waiting to find you. They're waiting to meet you. They're waiting to find you. And you know what? All these disappointments, all these no's, all these rejections, these disappointments, think of them as those barriers, those hurdles in your way that are going to get you closer to that ideal opportunity, to that company that does want to smack an offer letter on the table, who is going to be completely, totally excited about you after they meet with you, right? You're going to be like their perfect candidate, right? So every barrier gets you closer to that open door, to that ideal opportunity. Every no gets you closer to yes, folks. That is a common phrase. Those of us in the sales profession, recruitment industry, recruitment profession, this is something that we kind of live by, right? Because as recruiters, we face rejection on an hourly basis. To be frank with you folks, right? You might not see this from a recruiter standpoint, but as a recruiter, I mean, hey, look, I might talk to 10, 20 candidates, and majority of those candidates I speak to, it's going to be a rejection, right? They're going to reject me. They're going to be like, yeah, not interested. I'm not looking right now. A small minority, they're going to be like, very rude, and they'll tell me to F off or screw off and stuff like that. But it takes a whole bunch of those no's and those rejections and those letdowns and those disappointments for me to reach that handful of candidates that are going to be, yes, yes, I'm definitely interested, Dean. Definitely love to hear more about this opportunity. Tell me more. Right. So it takes a whole bunch of rejections and no's and flunks and failures and all that stuff to get to those opportunities, to get to those situations where it's the yeses, the yes, we want to schedule interviews. Yes, we want to move you to the next step of the process. Yes, we want to put an offer out on the table. Yes, we want to put you an offer at the figure that you're asking for. But you got to be willing to go through the letdowns, the disappointments, and the rejections, folks. That is part of the journey, right? That is part of the journey. So you got to be willing to move past those things, and you got to be willing to take those things and take those disappointments and push through, right? And even those really, if you think about it, and I even mentioned this kind of in one of the previous tips just now that I talked about. But look, every interview, even the ones that you get rejected for, like these are all learning opportunities. Like every interview you attend is an opportunity for you to take a look at. Okay, what did I do good? What did I do not so good? What are some things I can improve? What are some things I want to repeat at the next interview? Right? So every single interview, every single conversation, right? These are opportunities for you to further refine your skills, your communication skills, your interviewing skills, and better yourself, right? So look at it like that. And in fact, I would suggest all of you folks, like, keep a journal, folks. Keep a job search journal. Keep a job search journal where after every conversation with the recruiter, take your notes, take some notes. Okay, so today I had a conversation with blah 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 from such and such company. They were a recruiter. This is how the phone call went. They started sounding a little bit disinterested when I mentioned XYZ. Why is that? How can I handle that better the next time? Maybe I said something else that got them even more excited. Okay, take note of that. How can I repeat that so that the recruiter gets more excited about me in the next conversation I have with another recruiter, right? You gotta be making these observations and keeping a journal as well. So I suggest everyone out there, buy a notebook, right? Get a notebook, keep a journal, write down your observations from your perspective of what's going on in your job search, right? Things that are going well, things that are not going so well. What can you improve on? What should you repeat? Things that you're doing good that you should repeat, right? Keep a journal, folks. Like this is a great way for you to, be self-aware of what's going on. Write down your observations and continuously refine yourself, right? So that is my advice. That is the final tip, folks. Look, every no gets you closer to yes, right? Every no gets you closer to yes. Just because you're definitely going to be faced with some rejection, some disappointments, and stuff like that, but that does not mean give up, right? Every no gets you closer to yes. That is my final tip for today. So look, hope today's session helped you folks out there, and it helps you get over those and handle those disappointments you will be facing. By the way, I'm just being real here, folks. You will face disappointments in your job search. The question is, folks, how are you going to handle them? How are you going to and whether or not you're going to move past them and continue your job search and get what it is you want to get in your life and in the context of this live stream in your job search, right? And get that job that you're going to be excited to be a part of, where you're going to get something out of it and the employer is going to get something out of it as well, right? So with that being said, don't forget to hit like and share, folks. Make sure you share this particular segment with anyone else in your network who you feel would benefit from today's topic. And make sure you hit like, as the liking always helps the algorithm, and LinkedIn and YouTube as well. They distribute it to more channels, and also Facebook as well, as I'm live streaming on Facebook as well. And make sure you check out all my other social channels. All the links are on my Linktree page down here. It's scrolling right now. I'm trying to keep up with it, but it's a linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. That's where all my social links are. So you can follow me on the various social channels. Make sure you do that, including my LinkedIn newsletter, which I release every Monday. Exception this week was I released it on Tuesday because it was Thanksgiving Monday over here in Canada. But I release a new edition every week on Mondays. I released it on Tuesday this week, as explained. But make sure you subscribe to that. And again, the link for that is at my Linktree page, which is scrolling down here. So as soon as you get a glimpse of that, just go to my Linktree page. And if you're an IT professional, or if you're an organization looking for tech talent in Canada, make sure you reach out to me for more information on how I can help. You can reach me at my email, which is dean@techrecruiters360.com. Right? Dean at techrecruiters360.com. With that being said, let's get into the Q&A, folks. All right, so I'm going to respond to your comments right now. Any questions you have, any questions, feel free to start putting it in the comments, and definitely see if there's any way I can assist you with any questions you have. And let's see here. So we got Rajat Soni says resume is not getting shortlisting. All right, so Rajat, if your resume is not getting shortlisted, there's probably, I'd say, two main reasons why that's happening. Number one reason is simply your resume is getting lost in the crowd, right? It's getting lost in the crowd. Wherever you're submitting your resume, it's just not getting found, right? It's not getting shortlisted. Now, before COVID, the official statistic is for every job posting, on average, there are 250 applications submitted for every job posting, right? That was pre-COVID. I haven't seen any new stats of such a study being conducted post-COVID. So maybe that number is different now. But the importance of this statistic is your resume is going to be one of at least 250 competing applications for that job, right? So if all you're doing, Rajat, is you're submitting the resume and you're just waiting for a response, chances are, I mean, your resume will not get found. So my advice to you, Rajat, is try to make direct contact with maybe the recruiter, maybe the hiring manager, if that's the person who posted the job posting. Make direct contact. Now, the second reason why you might not be getting shortlisted is, and this is another common reason, is you might be applying for jobs where you're not a good direct fit for the position, right? So make sure you're only applying for jobs where you feel that you're like an ideal fit, Rajat, where you meet at least 70% of the requirements listed in the job description, right? If you don't meet at least 70% of what's required for the role, including the core requirements for the role, chances are you're not going to get selected for the role, right? So hope that helps, Rajat. Great question there. So we got Atit in the house. So hello there to Atit. Good morning to you as well, Atit. So Atit says, hi, I'm looking for a software developer co-op starting January. Did apply for a lot of companies, but never heard from them and rejected by many. Would be really grateful if you help me with this. Yeah, so my advice in regards to this, Atit, is if you're applying for co-ops, your best bet is to network directly with hiring managers and corporate recruiters, right? So third-party recruiters, agency recruiters, recruitment agencies, whatever variation you want to call people like me, third-party recruiters, we're not the best route for you to inquire about co-ops, right? Because especially third-party agencies and recruiters, like we're paid on a commission, and most companies do not pay commissions for finding co-op students, right? So this is why most recruitment agencies and third-party recruiters, again, like myself, we don't recruit on co-op and internship positions. So you need to, Atit, focus your networking efforts with, again, directly with hiring managers, maybe even with people already working with the company internally at the company you want to work for, that you want to do the co-op at, and see if you can get information and network with those individuals, right? And also, finally, you want to network directly with corporate recruiters. These are recruiters working internally at the companies you want to work for, and they certainly do recruit on co-op and internship positions. So that might yield you better results if you're looking for a co-op, right? So hope that helps, Atit. Great question there, and all the best in finding your co-op. Peter says, tip number 3, what if you even don't get to interview with hundreds of applications through months and months? Yeah, I mean, if you're not getting any interviews after months and months, Peter, then you got to take a look at, your approach, right? I mean, as they say, the numbers don't lie. If you're applying for hundreds and hundreds of jobs and you're not getting any responses, usually the problem is, number one, your resume. Number two is the types of jobs you're applying for. They're not seeing you as a fit for the jobs that you're applying for. Number three is, maybe this is the case for those of you who might be moving in from other countries. Maybe you're applying for jobs in another country, and that country, they have a preference for people who are already in the country that you're trying to apply for, right? So I hope that helps, Peter. Great question there. So we got someone says, good thoughts, Dean. Hey, I appreciate that feedback. We got someone that says, hi, Dean. Hi back. Thanks for your comment. Peter says, tip number 5, rehabilitate. Call Dean for a cheer up motivational call. Yeah, that's right. Hey, look, folks, this is part of the reason why I do my Wednesday live streams. Is I know job searching is difficult. It's not easy, right? I mean, you folks are faced with so much rejections and disappointments. You put so much time and effort into your resume, sometimes your cover letters and interviews, and going in, meeting, preparing, researching, like a whole bunch of stuff, only to be faced with these rejections and disappointments, right? So I try to bring a positivity and enthusiasm in my live streams. So I hope that does help those of you folks out there that are experiencing this in your job search, right? But I appreciate the comment, Peter, and thanks so much for tuning in as usual. Peter says, regarding tip number 6, then I'm going to face not a door but a really huge gate soon. Yeah, I mean, look, perspective matters as well, right? So folks, look, if you're looking at your job search as, hey, look, I'm facing so many, disappointments, so many rejections, so many letdowns, and stuff like that. That's one way of looking at it, right? But I want you to take another way of looking at it, right? Maybe you got rejected for an interview, but on the positive side, out of hundreds, if not thousands of applications, you were one of the people actually selected for an interview. Why not look at the positive side of that, folks, right? Look at the positive side in that situation. Yeah, maybe you didn't get selected for the job, but you got selected for the interview out of hundreds of other people that potentially their application never saw the light of day, or out of 10, 20, 15 people who didn't get past the pre-screen, right? You were selected for the interview itself. You passed the pre-screen. Sorry, you passed the applications out of hundreds and thousands of other applications. Maybe you got shortlisted, right? You got shortlisted for a pre-screen. You aced the pre-screen. You made it to the interview. So what does that tell you? That tells you whatever you're doing up until the pre-screen, keep on doing it. It means you're doing good, right? Maybe you didn't do well at the interview. Well, that's a separate thing. Maybe you want to, again, do your whole journaling thing and figure out, what did I do at the interview that I could do better next time, right? So segment your job search as well, folks, right? Don't just look at the disappointments and the rejections and what didn't work. Split things up, okay? Application stage, what did I do good in that? What did I do good at the application stage that I want to replicate for other jobs that I'm applying for? Okay, next segment is the pre-screen. What did I do well at the pre-screen that I want to replicate for other job opportunities out there? Right? I mean, you got to examine each and every component of these jobs that you're applying for. Don't just look at the rejection. Look at the learning experiences. Look at the good things you can take away that you can repeat further on in your job search, right? And then look at those things that did not work, and that's where you got to examine. Okay, what am I doing that I can change? What am I doing that might be potentially contributing to that not working out for me? Like, you got to be willing to take a look at that objectively as well, right? So that's it for today's segment, folks. Look, I hope everyone enjoyed today's segment, and everyone got good tips and advice from today's segment. I do see one more question, so let me just handle that one final question as well. So Joy says, "How do I know my resume is good enough to get me an interview?" Well, you know your resume is good enough, Joy, if you get an interview, right? That's a short answer, but a more fuller answer for that is, are you customizing your resume for the job that you're applying for, right? And does your resume communicate uh, the potential results and outcomes you can help the hiring team achieve? Because if there's something I see missing on so many resumes, is so many resumes out there, like, they read almost like a job description. Like, a lot of you folks, you're just talking about, I can do this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. You're talking about the what. You're only talking about the what, right? But you're not connecting the what with the outcomes and end results that you help the organization achieve, right? Whether it's your current employer, your past employers. Organizations do not pay, look at it this way, folks, right? Organizations are not paying employees to simply perform tasks. They're not paying you to do, just do XYZ. They're paying you to do XYZ, which yields some kind of end result or outcome, or resolution of some set of problems. That is what companies pay you for, right? And this is what is missing on so many people's resumes. First of all, a lot of you folks are not customizing it for the position that you're applying for. But the second main mistake is, and which a lot of you are doing, is you're only talking about what you did. You're not talking about your impact. You're not talking about the results. You're not talking about the outcomes. You're not talking about the problems that you solve. Impact, folks. What is your impact? This is the thing that so many people are missing on their resume, and that is the very thing that organizations are willing to pay people for. Remember, from the organization standpoint, like, for you as a job seeker, folks, you folks are thinking about, okay, this is a job, this is a career opportunity for me, and you're thinking about things from that standpoint. But you got to look at it from the organization standpoint as well. The organization is your customer, right? Whether you want to look at it that way or not, they are a customer. And what does a customer pay money for? A customer pays money in order to get a result, a problem solved, right? And this is what a lot of you are not communicating on your resume, right? Because again, companies do not pay you to simply perform XYZ. They're paying you as an employee to perform XYZ in order to yield ABC results or outcomes, and whatever the case is, right? So Joy, I would say that is the one thing that I would say that is probably the major thing I see lacking in so many resumes. Relevance, Number one is relevance. You gotta communicate relevant experience on your resume. And number two is, what is your impact? Like, why okay, fine, you know how to do XYZ, but what are the potential outcomes and results that you have helped achieve for current and past employers that you can potentially help me achieve if I were to invest in you at my organization for this particular position. Those are the two major things you gotta make sure you're communicating on your resume, folks. All right. So Joy, hope that helps. Great question there. Hope today's session was helpful for all of you folks out there. And again, make sure, folks, you hit like and share. Make sure you share this with your network, and make sure you mark your calendars. And I'll see you folks next Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, right here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. All right. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Keep pushing through. Don't let the disappointments get to you. Keep the momentum going, and I'll see you next week. All right. Take care, everyone.